Hi, welcome to our daily encounter. In Matthew chapter 15, we have the Pharisees and scribes condemning Jesus' disciples for not washing their hands before they eat, which was one of their traditions. And Jesus comes back at them and says, why do you transgress the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God has said, honor your father and mother, and he who speaks evil of father and mother is to be put to death. But you say, whoever says to his father or mother, whatever I have that would help you, has been given to God. He is not to honor his father and mother. And by this you invalidated the word of God for the sake of your tradition. And then he really nails it home. In verse 7, he says, you hypocrites, rightly did Isaiah prophesy of you. This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching as doctrines the precepts of men. Here Jesus is zeroing in on a topic that we've seen before several times in the book of Matthew, and we'll continue to see, where Jesus is speaking about the matters of the heart. Here Jesus is in the midst of a society that was really built upon checklists and traditions, and making sure you washed your hands before you ate, making sure you tithe mint and cumin, that you didn't walk too far on the Sabbath day. All these meticulous rules, and in the midst of all those meticulous rules, they had forgotten to have a heart for God. And even though we might commend them for trying so hard to live a holy life, or trying to not do anything to offend the Lord, even coming up with these fence laws, as they're called, these laws that were not God's law, but were constructed so that people would not violate God's law. But of course those laws became equal to God's law in their minds anyways. But it's all an attempt of them trying to live a holy life, but at the same time they didn't have a heart for God, and they didn't have a heart for people. So mere observance of rules and traditions superseded things such as devotion to God, love for your fellow man, mercy, compassion, and things like that. And so Jesus is coming in and proclaiming a kingdom that is based upon heart worship, which is really what God wanted in the first place. And so this is the emphasis as we're reading Matthew. Matthew's main theme is that Jesus is king. We see this even with the genealogy at the very beginning of Matthew, and you see it as a theme running all the way through it. But also in line with that is the kingdom that Jesus was coming to establish. And in that kingdom, life was not going to be so much about laws and rules and traditions and instructions and all those things. Of course, some of that is found, of course, in the New Testament, but that's not the main emphasis. The main emphasis is having a heart dedicated to God, dedicated to Christ, a person taking up their cross, following Jesus, and forsaking all, and giving their lives over to Him. And so this would take, of course, a change of heart within a person, and the heart becomes the focus. Well, here in this teaching we have Jesus focusing on the heart when he says, this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. I'm glad that we've come across this verse here on a Sunday, because as we go to church services, and I do hope that all of you do, if you're able to, that you do make it out to worship with other Christians. As you go there, think about this verse. Let this verse resonate in your mind. This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far away from me. Is that true of us? And it's not looking out at the rest of the congregation and saying, yeah, are they honoring God just with their lips and not their heart? But to look within yourself and to say, why am I here? Am I here just because this is the routine of my week? because this was the tradition of my parents and I'm just picking up that tradition for myself and for my own family? Am I there because someone might look down on me if I don't go? Do I feel as though I have to go and not that I want to go? Or why are you here, or why are you there, and what is your attitude while you're there? Because it might very well be, without us being conscientious of it, that we are singing songs to God, praising Him with our lips, praising Him with our prayers, but on the inside, our hearts are not for Him at all, and not even focused on Him. Our hearts are upon maybe the football game afterwards, or where we're going to eat, or who knows where else. And God isn't a God who just wants our lips, who just wants our hands, just wants our feet. He's a God who wants our heart. And He knows that once He has our heart, the rest will come after it. And so when we go to worship today, let's go into it saying, you know what? I'm going to worship God with all of my heart today. I'm going to put 110% into my worship. To not just go through the motions, not just go through the ritual, but to go there passionate for the Lord, in love with the Lord, dedicated to His cause, giving myself wholly to Him, picking up my cross again, denying myself, making it all about Him, making it all about service to others, and to begin to look outward and to look upward in my worship. Let's make that our focus today. Let's make our focus to give God all of our heart today. And it starts even before we walk in the door at the church service. It starts even now. If you're listening to this before you go into worship, and once you finish this video, maybe you do your reading, spend some time with the Lord. Spend some time focusing on Him, centering yourself back on Him again, and making Him the focus, even before you go to church. If you've got to listen to some worship music or whatever you've got to do to get your mind in the right place, get your heart in the right place, do it. That way when you walk into the doors, you're prepared to give God the worship He desires. That is a worship that comes from the heart. Well, these are some things to share with you guys today. I thank you guys for listening in. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.